Well, there you are. Again, Charlie Greer podcast. I do this every day. Today, so I look kind of extra haggard. Uh, no hat, no hair jelly, wild man style. Let's do this. Today is the what am I talking about today? World's oldest profession. Before we do, please like, share, and subscribe. That's the best way to support the channel. If you would even anyway, if you do want to support the channel, the info's in the description for Cash App. My handle is Charlie Greer Podcast. And for Zelle, it's my email. Let's do this again. So, world's oldest profession. Being a hua, you know, that's it's in every ancient book. Being a hua is the oldest profession. Is that the first job? Well, what are your I mean, if it's a profession, that means it's the oldest, and that was the first job. Is it just me? Am I the dumbass that doesn't understand? It could be, but let's get into this. So, um, that line of work is the oldest profession, the first job, if you will. Um, I think that's funny. Did they mean like cavemen were and women were? Because it's just not women that are whoas. You could be a man whoa. You know what I mean? Don't fool yourself. Just quite honestly, I've never been with a hua. I never needed to. I knew dudes, that's all they did. They'd go to Vegas. Actually, that's a misnomer. It's outside of Vegas. In Vegas proper, you got to get outside the county, these little towns, and then you can, you know. Anyway, so I'd heard, and there, of course, everybody's called that, whether you're, she's a hua, he's a hua. And by hua, I mean whore. But we'll just use hua. So, I can just start with when I moved to Los Angeles, like literally the first month. This is in March of '98. You realized how many people were doing the oldest profession, men and women. Okay, that's a thing. That's what they. That's how you. Yeah, it's what see. There's famous actors and actresses. Believe me, that's what they were. That's to this day. That's what they do. Again, I'm not trying to point that. Hey, do what you're gonna do, man. Um, I mean, it ain't gonna be me, but So, uh, for one, like the first day, I moved there. I stayed with I stayed on a friend's couch in like Fairfax district. It was nice. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. It probably cost a fortune now. And they were talking about, she's he's in porn, he's in the what, like the first day we went to lunch, there's like pointing out, oh, there they are, they just and they look nice. I mean, people were. So I stayed in their couch till I had to buy a car and and find a place to live, a roommate. So that's what I did. Right to my bedroom, go get a car, find a roommate. So I kind of popped around. Like I'd stay for like, my first roommate. Matter of fact, I'm still in contact with him. I only stayed 3 or 4 months because we lived like a half a block off Sunset. I didn't like the neighbors or some of the people he hung out with, but we stayed friendly. I moved, whatever. So you're popping around, trying to find the right place. So right off the bat, one of my first living experiences is I took a room, and the dude was weird. He, didn't like to show emotion. He tried to act like a tough guy. Of course, I'm like, tough guy. I mean, anywho, midget wrestler, more like it. But he just gave off this always question me, and we got right off the. I said, "Look, dude," because he's like, "Oh, you smile, you're funny. You think just because I'm smiling, I'm funny, don't mean you did." And I had to set him straight, kind of. So then we didn't get along. Can't really get into much detail. We didn't get along, right? And I knew after I did that, I go, I'm moving out. Just give me a little bit, let me sleep. Don't jump me in my sleep. But right off the bat, I wasn't there that long, maybe a month, maybe 2. And I realized something was up. He was a hua. He was a man hua. So he didn't have a job, wanted to be something. Like he was either an actor or a set designer, something like that. And always made fun of the LGBT community, which was kind of strange because he kind of gave off that, like, Butch John kind of vibe. And that's a tell. I'm like, wait a minute, man. Why are you worried about people who aren't even bugging you? Where are, who, huh, what? Always. That's all it was part of his, like, vernacular. His vocabulary was like making fun of the LGBT community, which I didn't like because I have LGBT friends and family. Anyways. So, but then he was like, yeah. And then he'd come up and like, I got a gig. I'm going, or he would either have a gig or I'm going surfing or I'm going snowboarding in the mountains. He wouldn't let it. Okay, man, fine. So I'll be up in the morning. Who cares, man? Like, you don't even tell. I don't tell you. That's what I told him. I was like, I don't tell you when I'm leaving out what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, you just pass in the night, whatever. They're the day. Don't get too familiar. But he made it like overbearing, like something's up, like he's trying to cover for something. Well, sure enough, that first time he picked up on it. He was picked up in a van by hey bitch, I was like, oh man, it looked like one of those vans where they're about to go to a porn set. People are in the van. There's equipment. There's the fucking, come on, I'm not stupid. And he's like, shut up, man. My neighbor's my roommate. Blah, 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 blah. Then he would come back and have all this money. Like, I thought you went surfing or skiing or whatever he was doing, walking the trail. I don't know. And he'd be happy. He'd kind of, for a week or whatever. And then again, I went in there for I think it was like 2 months. Matter of fact, I was missing my first roommate. Like, oh my God, I shouldn't have let anyway. Because I wanted to live by myself. That's the thing. I wanted to have my own apartment, but living there, you have to have a place. You know what I'm saying? I could only stay 7 days on the couch there. And that's it. So he was like doing, I guess, porn, LGBT porn. Didn't want people to know. Who cares what you know what I mean? Do what you're gonna do. I don't give a shit. It's LA. But he was on the down low, kind of lying about. So he was a hooah. Technically, I mean, you're and then I moved and I never saw him again. He just was kind of creepy. I don't even know how to, because I've met a lot of people in the porn industry on either side of them. They're cool people. I mean, they're like, I've been to their parties. I've been to dinner party. Dude, I was invited to like a Thanksgiving porn party. It was nice. I mean, and this is back in the day. This is like 20 years ago. So then I move right after I find this place on Van Ness. I'm going to say too much. Right across from Paramount Studios, an old building, Hollywood. Run down though. Everybody had lived there. It used to be owned by the studio. They said the studio, there was this old secret passageway. Matter of fact, there was a gate that they bricked up, but it was right across it used to be, they said, a brothel for the stars, a gambling hall, everything. Okay. Everything that went down there, James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, like every kind of, Montgomery Clift, like every old star, there's these stories. And in the hallways, they had these old haggard pictures of old stars. Anyway. So I move in there and I'm like, thank goodness, I got an apartment. But then you realize, like, wait a minute, there's hundreds of people in this apartment. It's loud, but it's at least my own place. Most people are trying to be an actor, an actress, a writer, a this, an artist, a musician. Say everybody was in there. Nobody's going to want to live across the street from Paramount just to be like, I'm a plumber. No, you're not going to, and one of my neighbors, she lived like, how many doors down? Like that, not that many doors down. Like 2 or 3. So I could see, she sees me going. I can see her going. She was always wore glasses. She was brunette. She wore like a business suit, like a business slacks, a suit, nice shirt, had like a little thing, whatever. And I talked with her. Matter of fact, I thought she was one of the most normal one and she said she did something, real estate or office work. But then again, I'm thinking like, why are you living in this building? Because at the time it was reasonable. But if you got money, you don't really want to live around artists who are like parties every night. They're not in every apartment, but there's this shit going on. People hanging out on the fire escapes, drinking and dreaming, if you will. I'm going to be a star. See, but then right off the bat, I moved in there and I saw the goings on with her place. It was like, because I realized, because I was working as trying to pitch a script. I was in a band. I was also doing acting gigs here and there, like just getting by. So I didn't have a job. So some days it would be like 10 days in a row. And you see people, you go and go and I walk my dog. That's another thing. I had a dog, so I'm walking my dog. I could see a lot more than most people do. And I would see like police officers and postmen, like mailmen, and every like city worker. It was always some kind of like, and there'd be like multiple of them. And hey, and you could hear kind of ha, they would kind of mumble and get quiet. Like, man, she's a hooah. Again, do what you're gonna do. But it's like, is this gonna be a thing? Like, if this is like my third or fourth place since I've been here. Granted, I'm house hopping because I'm trying to find a place. But what out of the four? There's two that I'm dealing with, like, and I knew this in LA. It's shit. And I'd go on the fire escape and have beers. We'd go up the top one or on the roof. We would hang out, have little parties, whatever. And you could look into Paramount to see what they were doing, shooting something or building. And Paramount would be like, you can't be looking. What are you going to do? No, we're not going to go in. Don't be looking. Shit, everybody's looking. What are you, the looking police? No, you can. So we watched what was going on. Because we'd overlook. It was right across the street. So if you're on top, you could see into Paramount. Paramount's like a city in there. It's, sometimes they would drape it up. You couldn't see. They didn't want people to. Big drapes, big. And honestly, they would have these rolled out, like painted scapes, like a mountainous look at what, and it would be like the background. They were huge. And awesome, realistic looking, and they would use it as background. Now I'm sure it's all CGI. But so I was on the fire escape or one of the updoor, but I ended up by myself, like party hadn't happened yet, or there was people there. They just left. I was there having a beer, like smoking, watching the Paramount. And she came out and she admitted, she's like, "Oh my God, did you hear? I guess you hear what happened." I was like, "No, I didn't hear it. I got arrested, and then they're kicking me out here." I tried to, sweet talk the manager, this old stunt man who owned the place. No, you got to go. And then they gave him shit, thinking that he was, I felt bad for her. She was sweet, and what are you going to do? That's what and she was trying to be an actress or something, or a director. She was smart. I mean, she wasn't, dumb or skanky. I mean, I did find out later from another neighbor that he got herpes from her. I don't even know if I should say this but anyway, yeah. And he had just moved to Hollywood. He hadn't been there that long, and he got diseased up or whatever. And he was going back to wherever he's from, Mississippi or what, some town. He wanted to be a director or actor. I don't know what he wanted to be, but he was, they come and go. They come with a dream and leave with a shanker on your lip or something, or wherever. I don't know. It's again, it's the world's oldest profession. I guess it's the first job. We're hiring. Anyway, damn near couldn't get away from it. Like when I lived in this building, I was working for money. The guy's like, "Hey man, I do data entry at this porn company. We always need people. Should I throw your name in the ring?" I was like, "Sure." He's like, "Why don't you drive out in the morning with me?" And then they're pretty much, I guarantee they'll probably put you to work. And he was right. I was like, "I don't want to be waiting around all day." He's like, "No, I'll get you." And they did. And they give me an office. And all I did was data entry. I get these paperwork. This is like 90. So the computers weren't as, they had like, I don't even know, AOL, whatever. And I would just take the paperwork and just entered it in the computer. And I had to do so many a day, easy. And I'd have kept that job because it paid well. But I just didn't like to be around the environment because part of the, I was in the office area. Then they had a shooting area, like studio, and then they had and this is in Van Nuys, and they had a warehouse area. Then everybody ate lunch out, and it was all fenced in with security. And then it was during lunch where I met all the porn stars and this, that, and the other, and all these guys, and see people, it started desensitizing me, even though I wasn't around that. I was in the office environment, but during lunch, and there's nowhere you could go. Matter of fact, could we even leave for lunch? Or we could, but we only got like a half an hour. So, and they actually fed us. They would bring food. Anyway, I quit that job. I worked maybe a month, maybe two, and then I quit. And my members in the band, like, why did you quit that job? You're making good money. It's like, dude, I can't be around that this sleazy environment. I didn't like my bosses, and then it's around. It is around. So and then another time, this was like years later, I was doing henna tattooing. Actually, yeah, maybe 2 years later, like 2000, maybe. Anyway, I would do private parties and stuff. My landlord actually was owned the henna company. She owned hire artists. I'm an artist. My buddy was an artist. We painted and everything, so we were good at henna. We had to be trained, but it was like, hey, henna's a paste. You draw on people's skin. You got to dry it with a hair dryer. If you smear it, it's all, and then it darkens. The more heat you give it, it'll darken. But it takes like 24 hours to darken. It lasts about a week or two. And back then, that was a thing. Henna, So we would usually do parties, or I've done movie premieres. I've done everything. You go to a nice party or premiere, and they have like booths of like, people doing drawing your face, and here's a henna guy, and here's the person that makes balloons out of into a dog or what. So I was one of those dudes. And then I'd get private gigs. My landlord, she was like, hey, you guys want to go and do this? We made $75 an hour. That was my take. I don't get how she probably charged them $150 an hour. And the gigs were only 1 to 2 to 3 hours. I never worked over 3 hours. So even if you did like a 2 or 3 hour gig, you made $75. Plus, if you did 2 or 3, I was making pretty good money just laying around the house, just going to coffee shops and eating sushi. It was a cool gig. And I did that for a couple of years. But one of these times, she goes, hey, there's a private real estate company. Again, another real estate company that are doing a promotion, and they've hired these models, and they want you to draw on the models, and they're coming here. But we lived in like this 3-level nice condo, and my level was the bottom, and the door opened to this really big garage, like a couple car garage, and open up. She's like, I want them, you do it here. You're going to meet them out front, walk them around. I don't want them in the top. I don't want them in the house. Okay. Yeah. So me and my roommate at the time, there was 3 of us living there, her, me, and a roommate. We're all artists. She was an artist, but she had another job. She grew up rich in Beverly Hills. So we met them there, and they were cool. I met the guy and his wife. She was beautiful. And then these girls, and we had to draw their logo. And then we had stencils, like you could use. It's like I don't even know that kind of paper. You put it on, you leave it leaves kind of like a blue. So you just have to like draw. It's easy actually if you don't. And they wanted their like lower backs done and their arm. We had to do like 4 or 5 of these girls. And right away, I was just like, a real estate company, like models. They're like, well, yeah, we'll see. It's LA, so models. We're going to this trade show. We want to get attention. We have these like good-looking models, and we have the pamphlets for the houses. We're setting it. I kind of get it. I was like, oh yeah, I guess, right? Because they're like, oh, we do boat shows. We do this. We need a couple good-looking models, I guess, to get attention because there's so much. Anyway, but I felt something right away that someone right, like. I don't know. Again, they were classy and nice, and they had nice cars. They lived in a nice place. We hit it off because they were there for like 3 or 4 hours, whatever it was. It might have been longer because we had like multiple girls to do. And then they liked us. They lived in the neighborhood, so they would have parties and have us over. Nice. They lived in a condo. It's like, iron rail. It was huge. A balcony that looked over the valley, it was really cool. And it was dinner parties. It wasn't, matter of fact, I would dress up. We would, because we, it was awesome. Nice food. And they'd have like catered and, but something was off, something was off. And then we got to know them. And this took about 6 months or a year of knowing them. And they'd also hire me and my roommate to do, hey, we got to move some stuff, furniture in this house to set, to seat it, to make it look good. You guys want to make, $200 in a day? Fine. Yeah. Like they had a U-Haul. We'd take couches and put it in some house or condo, whatever. So they gave us like odd jobs. But there was something going on. And one day, this real estate calls me. And she's crying. She's like, "Come here. Why are you calling me?" Well, I need help. Well, fine. I'll go over there. And when I get there, the cops are actually leaving. They're like, "Oh, you can't come. Hold on a minute." And I was like, "Well, no, my friend." So I didn't know that things, we're just leaving, and I couldn't see there's, this big condominium complex. Like I didn't know that it was her place. I just thought that, oh, well, there's something else going on. I saw the cops and I saw they're taking out bags of evidence or whatever the hell it was. And they're like, okay, you can go. And then I still didn't get, I knocked on the door. She's like, crying. And she's like, they just raided us. And my husband left. Like they got pinched. They got, and she told me that we're a real estate company. That's what we do. But on the side, we have like these parties in these places that they charge money to, and they used like a website. She even surfed it up for me. Like, what in the world? She showed me the legit website, and then their, then I'm like, the cops were here? That's what because I go, they stopped. I couldn't come in. Like, that's what just happened. You called me up when the cops were even here. She's like, yeah, I did. And that's what she's like, Charlie, I hate to say this, but you kind of an artist, lowbrow dude. I couldn't trust anybody. I trust you. And I didn't want to call my legit friends. So I called you. What? Well, shit, I'm already here. The cops saw me. They probably think I'm like one of these, whatever you want to call it. And I felt sorry for her though. Because I guess the husband somehow got tipped off or ran or whatever and left her. That's why she was pissed that he left her to take the pig. And they were looking for him. Anything like how far you can run. She's like, it's over between him and I. I'm like, well, I perhaps, yeah, that's probably a good, Then she started kind of hitting on me like, well, I need another man. Whoa, hey. I mean, she was attractive. I mean, she looked like Selma Hayek or something. She was, but no. It's like, well, let me buy you lunch. I was like, okay, fine. So we went out to lunch and everything. And she, but it got out. Like even, you think LA's big, but when we were all friends. Even my landlord and even other neighbors had went to it gets out. And they were like, hey, did you hear, Charlie? I'm like, did I hear? She called me when it was going down and had me come over. The cops, they're like, no way. I was like, yeah, way. But there were other dudes who were like, really? Like they wanted to, maybe I can. I was like, are you shitting me? Well, she's fine. How much money is she? I don't know. Like, I went, huh? I'm not like a closet pimp or something. Nah, but I cut ties with her because I was upset that she kind of wrangled me into this mess. It's bad enough I'm in a band. They think of artists and band guys. Of course, I always wore a leather jacket and black. I always wore black, and I was skinnier and better looking back then. And they would just think things. I didn't want to be on anyone's radar, especially like the LAPD or the LA Sheriff Department. No. Especially the Sheriff Department. You didn't. No. Because then again, we were doing henna. We had done henna on them. They're going to turn over a stone if they've got, again, it might be we never heard anything, but even my landlord who had the henna company was like, do you think that they're going to think that and I was like, I don't know. Like that, it was a mess. And there's only so much sympathy I can have for certain, come on, man. Like, don't, But that's the thing. That's the, and then it's LA. All right. It's not like it happens every week, but about every year or two, you get to know people. And again, some people are open, like, hey, I do porn, whatever. I was asked to do porn multiple times. I used to work in a restaurant on Sunset. And at first, these guys, they were always hanging out at the restaurant. We had a patio area. Pardon me. And we could serve like limited booze, like beer and wine. We didn't technically have a bar, and it was good food, great coffees, this, that, and other thing. So we had an open patio or a roof patio, and then down on Sunset, they had a like outside. It was always busy. Actresses, this, that, and the other thing. Like famous people would come in and out there. But there was these guys, and they were cool. They were big tippers. They started talking to me. They said they owned a construction company, right? I didn't even ask them. They're just like, yeah, man, we have a construction company. I'm like a liaison between this and that, hook people, blah, blah, blah. And gave me this card, but it was like an entertainment. Yeah, well, we work with the entertainment, construct. Oh, that makes sense. I mean, it's like, you're not building houses. You're like doing set design. Who knows? And then they finally were like, look, man, we do porn. And they gave me their link to their website. I saw it. I was like, oh my God. And then one of the guys would actually star in it too. And they, why don't you do it, man? I'll give you 300 a scene. No, I'm not gonna, come on. And then there were people that I knew at the coffee shop who were like claiming to be actors that were like, yeah, that's how I pay my rent. And then he was a stunt phallus. I don't even know how else I can say this. They didn't show their face. He used it anyway. You can figure it out. You can be one of these stunt phalluses. No, I ain't gonna, No. And then they would have these parties, like porn parties, and these porn stars would come in. Some I knew or I'd seen, everybody sees porn. So I was like, oh, that's her. Always nice, always tipping really well, These porn girls were like, hey, you're so sweet. You should break up with my boyfriend. I want another boy. No, I ain't gonna, no, I don't want to. No, I just don't want to. I mean, you're cool. Don't want to offend anybody, but and then he'd invite me to this. Well, you should come to the party. It's a porn party. We're doing this. No, I'm not. I never went. And then there was a guy who I didn't know that well that worked at the restaurant, but he was like more of a. He only worked maybe 30 hours a week, so technically he was like part time. He, and I think he was in a band or something or other, or booked gig. Who knows? He's like, yeah, I'll come. And he'd go to these parties, and then he ended up with an STD. I don't know what he's just like, dude, man, Charlie, you're lucky you didn't go because I got something. Like, what? Like, yeah, you're going to these porn parties. What do you think? Didn't you bring any prophylactics or, shit? I mean, 1 + 1 makes 2 equals, there's an equation when it comes to, don't you have enough foresight to see my mind? I'm looking at, no, it's going to end up, there's only so many equations that's going to, I'm not good at algebra, but in life, I know about the equations. I know about what, where the roads lead. Usually it's only 1 or 2 roads. Yeah. So, but I like these dudes. And the one, so they all directed, but the one actually got arrested for, I guess, even if you're doing porn and you got to have like permits or something, like you have to have like some kind of, and he told me, he's like, man, I was like, where you been? I hadn't seen you. Oh man, I was in the Twin Towers downtown, and Twin Towers are like the where you get arrested. I heard it takes 2 to 3 days just to get you through. What's that? The transfer anyway. And they let him out, but just the intaking takes forever. Especially if it's on a weekend or something, you don't want to. Yeah, I didn't have permits, and somehow the neighbor called. Who knows, But if you pull up at a place and there's people living and there's a house, like, how you doing, neighbor? And you're pulling up with trucks. Again, porn, they have like these. You need like lighting, scaffold, and this, that, and you're setting up somebody called, and the cops came, and you got a permit, and you're shooting porn, He got, well, that's what he told. Again, this is what he told me. But they were nice. I didn't have any problem with them. Matter of fact, I sold one of them a car. I was flipping cars. This is when I first started doing it. And matter of fact, I sold the car, and then he had bought it for one of his like crew guys or something. And it was legit, right? He comes in, he's kind of upset. He's like, "Hey man, you sold me that car. The guy's claiming that the car had tickets or whatever on." I go, "No, dude, it was a clean car." And I had saved something. I was like, "Look, I'll bring it in." You know what I mean? And it turned out what the dude did was, so you sell a car to someone, it's their obligation to register it and insure it. Once I sell the car, it was a clean car. Matter of fact, he goes, "Yeah, that's right." Because he paid for the transfer. He's like, "Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, there was no problem." So the guy he didn't pay the insurance and he got tickets on it. So they could pull him over. And of course, you're going to jail. I mean, in LA, they're really strict about that. And he blamed me. Oh, when he called him from jail, he's like, "No, it's the guy who sold it. There was tickets on it." And I go, "Dude, you couldn't have registered that car with the tickets on it. Come on, what are you talking about? I had the car. It was my car, because I'd keep him for a while and drive it till I can flip it." He goes, "Damn, you're right, And then he was mad. "That son of a bitch lied to me." And I was like, "Dude, I'm not going to sell them any more cars." And it was a good running car. I mean, it's, again, you get wrapped up in, that's why I moved out of LA. Or technically out of Hollywood. I'd been there forever. I moved in there in 1998. And then 2010 is when I was like, you know what? I need to find a little town that's close in LA County, close enough to Hollywood that I can get there in 20 minutes if the traffic's not bad, or an hour if the traffic is bad. So I picked Pasadena, which is right. It's one of the valleys, but it's San Gabriel Valley. It's because the San Fernando Valley is Porn Valley. And I lived there too. I lived all over. Van Nuys. I lived in North Hollywood, Reseda, Granada Hills, all over that. And it's more great. San Gabriel Valley is more like working class, and Pasadena is really nice. And there's colleges there. And so in 2010, that's what I did. I was like, people were going, "You moved to Pasadena, you must well be in, Alabama or somewhere. Like you might as well be out of state." Well, yeah, that's what I want to be. I want close enough for like auditions or whatever, but get out of. And it was cool because you drive into Hollywood. I found out the shortcut, basically, like take side streets, and miss all the traffic. I mapped it out, that's what I did. So you get there, and then you realize, oh, the congestion of Hollywood. How did I put up with this for so many years? And then the this and that and the other. See, and say if you're on audition, sometimes you have like 2 or 3 a day. You're in Hollywood, so it's kind of the energy, yeah, whatever. Then you driving back to Pasadena, you feel like, oh, thank God I'm going to Pasadena. And I lived in a nice neighborhood. It's all la la la, like chirping birds and howdy neighbor, like that kind of thing. And I was in Pasadena, the same up for 6 years. And again, my friends once I moved to Pasadena, I think some of my best friends would come like once or twice, whatever. And then I had certain band guys that would come multiple, but and I liked that. I liked it. I could just disappear in Pasadena and just not have to, but close enough to LA or Hollywood to get in there and out. Then when I lived there, I was at 6 years in Arcadia, which is about 5 miles. Matter of fact, you didn't have to get on the highway. Just take the, Colorado. Next town over is Arcadia. Santa Anita racetracks there. Again, it's a little nice neighborhood, parks and, nice restaurants. And so, yes, that's what I need. I want to get away from just the craziness of windows breaking and gunshots and screaming, But yeah, and guess what? I didn't run into in Pasadena or Arcadia. Didn't run into Who's. Didn't run into the oldest profession. I'm sure it was there because there's massage parlors everywhere. But I never, it's like. Matter of fact, I don't even see how they existed because you never saw anyone in and out of these parlors. I don't even know what. There's always an open sign, but I never saw anyone coming or going. Maybe there's a back door that the windows are always blacked out and they're called like, tulip massage. That's just no. I did see him getting raided though. And I saw some of the girls that were pretty that were outside. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Good times, actually. I miss those. kind of, it's what it is. I mean, but yeah, you live a wild man's life. Well, that's what's gonna. And I'm sure it was worse for people that actually did do, you know. Anywho's it. Again, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, the information is in the description for Cash App. My handle is charliegreerpodcast. And for Zelle, it's my email. You can figure it all out. It's all apps. There's no links or anything like that. But I do this every day. I'll be back tomorrow, ranting like a madman. But I love y'all. Be blessed. Cheers.